Howdy, it's Penn from BC Doves, bringing you folks hopefully another watchable video. Tonight we're going to go into week 5 of the college football season. A great slate of games coming up this weekend. High impact games with a lot of implications at the end of the year, especially with my team. More on that in a minute. But just a lot of teams finally getting tested. There have been some teams so far this year that's got tested. Auburn, Oklahoma comes to mind. Texas A&M, Notre Dame comes to mind. Tennessee, Georgia comes to mind. Ohio State, Texas. There's been a few games, but all in all, not a lot of marquee matchups. Florida State, Alabama was one. But your teams like Ohio State, other than Texas game, you haven't watched them play. Penn State, other than nobody. They have played nobody. Washington, what do you know about Washington Huskies? Nobody knows anything about them. LSU, Clemson's falling off a cliff. We're going to get into this week 5 slate of games. I got my notes here, so if I'm looking away from the screen, that's what I'm going to be looking at. And we're going to talk about the Auburn Texas A&M game. I am an Auburn fan. We're going to talk about that game, but I'm going to do a more in-depth breakdown in another video that'll be on this channel. So tonight, as always, we're going to talk about the games. We're going to go over my best bets, the games that I bet on, which are two separate things. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to smash that like button. We're up to 285 subscribers. And also, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get this channel to 500 subscribers. Once we do that, and I feel like this is continuing to grow, then we're going to get a better setup, maybe a microphone. Who knows? But anyway, I can't do it without your help. Thanks so much for watching. The people that are here every week, I really appreciate it. And as always, I'll be going through next week with shorts throughout the games and my reactions. They seem to do pretty good. I get a lot of hits on that. I like to react in real time to what I'm seeing as I'm watching the slate of college football games that are on that day. First, we have some games on today. Obviously, Florida State and Virginia are playing. A couple of other games on tonight. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but some good games. I think Oregon State plays tonight. Oof. Mike Gundy retiring. We'll talk about that briefly. Anyway, let's get into it. Games that I want to break down, vaguely, and what my thoughts are, in general about these games is Alabama, Georgia, Oregon at Penn State, Auburn, Texas A&M, Tennessee at Mississippi State. Is Mississippi State for real? We're going to find out this Saturday. Ohio State at Washington, a game that nobody's talking about. Better watch out, Buckeye man. And then LSU at Ole Miss. Kind of crazy this last week. It seems like Lane Kiffin's daughter is dating one of the Weeks boys, one of the linebackers for LSU. So that is an interesting, to say the least, kind of under flying under kind of element to the game. I'm sure that Lane Kiffin would like nothing better than to run it right at that linebacker for LSU, Mr. Weeks there, and I bet he probably will. So let's get right into it. My thoughts on the Alabama-Georgia game. I don't know. I feel like Georgia was playing the beginning of the season, trying not to reveal, trying to save some stuff for the Tennessee game. And I think a lot of people were down on Georgia at the beginning of the year because they weren't putting up a lot of points. They couldn't run the ball that well. And, there's our gecko buddy. He's always out here eating flies or whatever. He's always in the window. I got to get a blind for that thing. But anyway, I feel like, he was holding back. Auburn did that. Same thing through the beginning of the year. Then we saw some things in the Oklahoma game that we hadn't seen all year. And I feel like Gunnar Stockton was like, oh, he's not the guy. And he's not that great of a quarterback. Then, bam, the Tennessee game comes, and he makes some unbelievable throws. That throw in the fourth quarter when they had to have it, that little curl in the corner of the end zone where he just put it right over that was an NFL throw right there. That looked very, very, very good. I am high on Gunnar Stockton. He went on the road as a first-time starter in a hostile environment there at Neyland Stadium and came out with a win. After, of course, Heupel iced his own kicker like a true idiot. What is it with teams what is it with special teams in the SEC? Auburn is horrendous. You got Heupel icing his own kicker. You got the running back from Arkansas fumbling the ball when he's just trying to center it on the hash mark for a walk-off field goal. What is going on with special teams in the SEC? They need to. I remember back when running the ball, playing great defense, and special teams was the elixir. That was the combination of ingredients that it took to win national championships in this conference. Not throwing slants across the middle. I remember when that was the formula. Boy, we came a long way from that. In Alabama, Ty Simpson, the Alabama faithful, was ready to throw him, like in general, was ready to throw him right over a cliff after that outing against Florida State there in Tallahassee at Doak Campbell. And I thought they looked okay in that game. I didn't think they looked too bad. It's a tough ask. I mean, sure, Florida State only won a couple of games the year before, but he was also going to his first road game, first game of the season, and I think that they just weren't prepared in general for Florida State just pop them, and so to speak. And Florida State did, as we see tonight. They're struggling a little bit in the first half of that game versus Virginia. This game, to me, comes down to Alabama running the ball and taking some pressure off of Ty Simpson, and Georgia's defense being able to stop the run, and Georgia's defense being able to stop the run. I know that there's a history. Kirby Smart can't get over, beating Alabama. It's a mental thing, and I know all too well what that feels like. It took Auburn like 24 years to win a game up in Baton Rouge in Louisiana at LSU, and lo and behold, it was Brian Harsin that did it. Bo Nix, my boy, Bo Nix, that was able to go up there and get that dub. But I know, is it a mental block with Kirby Smart? No, I don't think so, and I don't think that Alabama is the same Alabama of old, and with Alabama going into Georgia and with Alabama beating Georgia as much as they have, I think that Georgia wins this game. I think Georgia stops Alabama's run. I think they put Ty Simpson in obvious passing situations. I think maybe they leave him behind the sticks, second and long, third and long situations, and Ty Simpson makes a couple mistakes, as young quarterbacks tend to do, and Georgia wins that game outright. I don't even think I think Georgia wins by a touchdown. I think Georgia's got Alabama's number this year, especially if Gunnar Stockton plays the way that he did against Tennessee. Oregon at Penn State. What do you know about Oregon? What do you know about Penn State? We know that they're great. They're great brands. We know they play pretty good football. We know that Dan Lanning and James Franklin are really good coaches, but have you watched them play at all this year? Has anybody watched really much Oregon or Penn State? I mean, I've seen a little bit. I know that Penn State, for whatever reason, for no excuses, has a still struggling offense up there. Defense is great. And then, of course, you have Oregon, who has a pretty good offense, I would say, and a pretty good defense. But they are going on the road. They're flying all the way from the West Coast all the way into Happy Valley there for a whiteout. And folks, if you haven't seen a whiteout at full throat, and it's been a while because the Fox has the Big Ten and their big noon kickoffs. So usually their biggest games they play at noon because it's the big noon kickoff. So we haven't seen a whiteout that Penn State's played lately of a team of note. I think Auburn, Penn State comes to mind from like 2021 maybe it was, 2021 year. I think Auburn played Penn State. Correct me if I'm wrong on that down in the comments below. But and I remember watching that game. Every snap of that game as an Auburn fan would do, and it was just electric. Like, I've been to a lot of Auburn games, in person, and it's really loud there, and it's electric, and it's one of the best crowds in college football. But that whiteout up at Happy Valley has got to be top 2 or 3 intimidating environments for a team to come into in college football. It's going to be loud. Can Oregon's quarterback and offensive line, can they keep from the pre-snap penalties, no false starts? I think you're going to see some of that in this game from Oregon. I think Oregon's going to put up some points. And I think Oregon's going to get the dub against Penn State in Happy Valley. I just don't think, I don't trust James Franklin. I don't trust James Franklin in games that he's got to have to change the narrative. I trust James Franklin to win 10 games a year. I would love for James Franklin to come down to Auburn and win 10 games a year. Kind of like Brian Kelly. And I don't know why those two aren't kind of lumped together. They're kind of the same. They can win 10 games a year, 9 games a year in their sleep. But when those marquee games come, and everybody knows it, they just seem to fall off a cliff. Is this the year that Penn State and James Franklin gets it done against the Oregon Ducks? I hope so. It'd be good for the sport if Penn State was playing for a national championship and had that caliber of team. But their schedule will get difficult toward the end of the year, and it starts right now this weekend against Oregon. I think Oregon goes into Happy Valley, whiteout and all, intimidating environment and all, because Oregon has one themselves there in Eugene. I think Oregon gets it done. I really do. I think they score. I think they just basically outscore Penn State. I think Oregon scores 27, 30 points, and I just can't see Penn State scoring that much. I just don't see Penn State being able to score that much to beat Oregon. Auburn, Texas A&M. I'm not going to say too much about it. 7.5 point spread, Texas A&M. I think Auburn wins that game outright. I really do. I think Auburn is ticked off. I know I am about the way that game went down. And sure, there's plenty of blame to go around on Auburn's part with Jackson Arnold. We're going to get into a later video, but I think Auburn beats Texas A&M outright. I'm not going to break that game down because I'm going to talk about that game in a separate video. So look for that video on my channel. Tennessee and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's been a great story. I think their over-under win total for the season was set at 4.5 or at 4 wins. And they've done that already, so, take a break. And I think that's exactly what Mississippi State's going to do this week. I think they're going to take a break down there in Starkville. I think Tennessee's offense is too much for Mississippi State. Mississippi State can put up some points, but Tennessee's defense is pretty good. They didn't look that good against Georgia, but I think they're good enough to get the win down there in Starkville and beat Mississippi State. Not a lot of science to that pick. I've seen both these teams play this year. Mississippi State did beat an Arizona State team at home this year by a slim margin. And I think Tennessee, coming off that Georgia loss, is in a do-up spot. And I think they get the job done there on the road in Starkville. Ohio State versus Washington. It's another game. Nobody's talking about it. Speaking of Ohio State, who have they played in the last 3 games? Does anybody even know? No, we don't know because they played a bunch of directional colleges that nobody has paid attention to. And obviously, outside of that game in at the beginning of the year against Texas, where their defense looked really good, but their offense looked very suspicious. Although Texas's defense is really good, but I believe Texas's defense gave up more points to like San Jose State or whoever it was than they allowed Ohio State to score on them. I'm just not that impressed with Ohio State's offense, and I know that over there where Washington plays football is a tough place to play. Those people, I mean, it's not a big stadium, but it's loud, and it can be intimidating over there where the Huskies play. And first real road test for that young quarterback there at Ohio State. I think the line on this game is Ohio State minus 9.5. I like Washington State to cover the 9.5. I like Ohio State to win. I like Washington State to cover the 9.5. I think this game is closer than people think. And I think, next week we're going to be hearing murmurs about how possibly Ohio State's not as good as everybody thinks they are. And I don't really think that's true at all. I just think that they really haven't been tested except for 4 weeks ago against Texas. And offensively, Texas did not put up that much of a test for Ohio State's defense. I think Washington will put up a better offense against Ohio State's defense. But I do think Ohio State wins this game. LSU at Ole Miss. That's a tough one. It's a tough one. Nussmeier hasn't looked that great this year. I'm not saying it's Nussmeier's fault. We all know that Garrett Nussmeier's a great quarterback. Lane Kiffin seems to be growing quarterbacks on trees up there at Ole Miss. I don't know where he gets these guys from. That kid that he's got stuck playing now, Tyron Cham. I don't know the guy's name. I don't want to butcher his name. But the guy that came out of Ferris Community College, wherever it was, that Lane Kiffin plucked out of nowhere, just comes right in. Looks like he's been playing D1 football for 4 years. I don't know how this guy does it, but he knows talent when he sees it. He's a great talent evaluator of quarterbacks. That is for daggum sure. You can say anything you want to about Lane Kiffin, but that guy knows a good quarterback when he sees one, and he can continue to develop these quarterbacks almost seemingly instantaneously as they get to the league and get ready to play. What's wrong with, ironically, the thing that's cost LSU probably a national championship, I would dare say when Jalen Daniels was there, was a horrible defense. I mean, they couldn't stop molasses in the wintertime that year Jalen Daniels was there. That carried over into last year, too. The defense wasn't great last year. So what did they do? They just turn around and just put out a prolific defense this year, just randomly. Bam. And LSU's defense is legitimate. I think they're like top in all categories in the SEC. They're top in a couple of categories nationally. They're a legit defense. They are going on the road to Vaught Hemingway there. And they're going to be playing an absolutely bar none electric offense in Ole Miss's offense up there. I think Lane Kiffin dials it up. I think there's times when this game is close. I think this game stays pretty close. I think the spread's only 2.5. But I think LSU suffers their first loss of the season, and I think Ole Miss gets the win there, especially with the news that Lane Kiffin's daughter is dating LSU's linebacker. I think that's enough juice and motivation to get Lane Kiffin ready to play for this football game. So give me Ole Miss to win outright in that game. All right, let's talk about what my bets are. My bets are Oregon to beat Penn State. Auburn to beat Texas A&M. Indiana minus 8.5 at Iowa. I like that. Baylor minus 20.5 at Oklahoma State. And who else is that? And I like TCU to beat Arizona State. I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. Those are games that I bet, as well as Syracuse to win outright versus Duke. Notre Dame, I took the over at 63.5 in that game. I know I didn't break that game down, but I think there's going to be a lot of offense in that Notre Dame-Arkansas game. Not a lot of defense in that game. And USC minus 6.5 at Illinois. Those are my total bets that I bet in my parlays, 2 4-game parlays. My best bets for the week are Syracuse to win outright versus Duke. The over at 63.5 and the Arkansas Notre Dame game, and USC to beat Illinois minus 6.5. Anyway, I know that was kind of a generic game breakdown, not a lot in depth. I'm gonna come off of here. I'm gonna close this video out and make another video, kind of going more in depth into what I think about Jackson Arnold and what's going on with him. I haven't spoke about the Oklahoma Auburn game yet, really, and kind of what my feelings are with the overall game and game plan in that game, and how I feel with Auburn coming up versus Texas A&M. Hey, man, I hope everybody enjoys your college football Saturday tomorrow. It's going to be a great set of games. We'll see you on the next one.